Could you expound on the Shente Shuita relationship?
Yeah.
Of like, she's Shente when she's got to be good, but she'll be on the streets. If she's Shuita, she's going to be profitable. And what is he telling the audience through that?
Okay. Yeah, well, as Shente, she is able to be good. She's able to give away her rice. She's able to give people a place to stay. The entire family, she gives lodging. As Shuita, he's able to walk in and say, no, you can't stay here. I have to run this shop. If you are sleeping on the floors and smoking my tobacco, then I can't sell anything. And if I give you rice, then that's less rice that I have. And I have to preserve myself. Now, the wrench that kind of gets thrown in is that she falls in love with a flyer named Yang Sun. And he's all around no good, pretty much. He's not kind and nurturing to her. He doesn't have a lot of those good Shente qualities. But one of the things that she loves about him is how poor he is, how in need he is, and she's very attracted to that. So she becomes pregnant, and that becomes another obstacle for her. Now she not only has to provide for herself, but she also has to provide for the baby that's coming. So she has to assume the role of Shuita yet again. One of the moments in the play that causes her to most realize the gravity of her situation is Lin To, the carpenter's son. She walks in on him eating out of the garbage, and she kind of has to say, well, this could happen to me, this could happen to my son easily if I don't take charge. So she becomes Shuita yet again. This time, though, she has to continue to be Shuita for even longer, because now that she is pregnant, she's getting bigger. She's got the pregnant belly, and everybody thinks that he has just gotten big and fat. He's able to mask that, and in this way, she's able to keep Yang Sun from finding out that she is pregnant. So it's all about preservation. This Shuita coming in, and she's saving herself over and over and over again. Now, what ends up happening, though, is that there's this scene kind of towards the end where she has a moment with Yang Sun, and she ends up going into the back room and crying, and he hears her voice, and so he thinks that she's still alive. And in the meantime, people have been going, where's Shente? She was good, we need her, we want rice, we want food, we want a place to stay. She was kind to us. She didn't make us work for things, because Shuita makes everybody work for everything. And they want her back very, very badly. And they end up having a trial at the end. And Shuita comes in very pregnant or fat. And they all gather around and they say, well, where is Shente? Where is Shente? And there are all these citizens in the community that are speaking up either for Shente, or not for, either for Shuita or against Shuita. They either say, oh, well, he was a respectable man. He was a pillar of the community. He was close with the authorities, and he kept business going. In this way, there were members of the community that thought of him as being good because he was respectable. Whereas Shente started off as a prostitute. She grew up in the gutter, and if it hadn't have been for the gods coming in and her giving them lodging for that one night, then chances are she would have stayed a prostitute, So in that way, she wasn't as respectable. But she was good. And so then there's the trial, and it gets down to the point where Shuita just says, if everyone leaves, then I'll let the gods know, who are masquerading as judges, what's going on. Shuita reveals that he's actually Shantae, and the gods say, "Oh, that was you all along?" And he's like, "Yes, that was me." This is kind of part of the whole Brechtian rapport with the audience, where you can say, "Yeah, I know that I was Shantae all along. You know that I was Shantae all along." And we can have those moments between the two of us where we agree that this is what's happening, right? But within the scene, the other characters don't necessarily pick up on it or see it. So he reveals that he's actually Shantae all along and explains the situation. He says, "I wanted to be Shantae, and I wanted to be good. I wanted to give to others, but I couldn't. It was impossible. These people needed so much, and I only had so much to give. And the shop, everything would have gone under if I would have continued as Shantae." And they say, "Oh, you poor thing, you poor thing. You managed to survive. At least we've still found our good person," which was their whole mission, was to find one good person. And then they float off and leave her where she was, which I think is interesting. This is another difference between a Brecht play and another modern realism kind of play. Brecht doesn't end the play with, "Oh, what will I do?" And then there's this big meltdown and the audience goes, "Oh, that poor woman." He ends the play with, she says to the gods, "You can't leave me here. What am I supposed to do now?" And then at the end, there's a moment, and I'm not really sure who's going to be presenting this. In some previous performances, they've had it be the character that plays Shantae Shuita come forward and say it. In other performances, it's been Wong. You could have the whole company say it. It doesn't really matter which character says it. But they turn to the audience and they say, "This happened. She couldn't survive. What are you going to do about it?" Because this is obvious that this is our society. This is not just this fictional city of Sichuan. Sichuan doesn't even exist. It's a province, it's not a place. He wanted to create that distance from reality by having a fictional setting. In order to make it maybe a little more malleable, a little bit more relatable to the audience, so they can insert here your own society, But yeah, it ends with that question that, well, what are you going to do?